Welcome to Minutes with Mayor, brought to you by Mercantile Bank, and I'm here with Mayor Linda Moore, and we are going to talk about the upcoming city budget, which will be your first.
Yes.
Excited?
I am excited.
So you get to do your own thing because, as the way it's all set up, you basically walk in and you get to deal with the last guy's budget, and then someday somebody, whenever you decide to hang it up, somebody will have to deal with your last budget.
Right.
But this one you get to walk in and do yourself. What excites you the most about this prospect?
Finding out from every department what they really need to do their job and what things would make their life easier and where maybe we aren't using our resources most efficiently. I've known for a long time that we have some staffing deficiencies. We need some bodies in some places. But adding headcount adds a lot of expense. So where might we be able to repurpose some things or some people? And how might we be able to just collaborate more to find those cost savings?
And when you look at, you also get to project the revenues you think you'll have.
Yes.
I did notice, though I wanted, when Michelle covered the meeting and I had her talk to the treasurer, because I always like to compare sales tax year to year, and it looks like those numbers are doing better than they were last year.
They are. I mean, I'm very pleasantly surprised that our sales tax dollars are holding their own. We thought that 2025, 26 would be the start of where we were peaking and maybe start heading downwards. I still think that could be on the horizon just because there's so much uncertainty, and even on a national level, we don't know what's going to happen with tariffs. We know that a lot of retailers are already passing some of those additional expenses on to consumers. Prices are going up, which means if sales tax is flat, the amount of sales tax you're paying is going up as well. So we anticipated that we might see very small increases, if anything, but we've been very pleasantly surprised at where sales tax is going.
And of course, you will also be establishing the property tax levy as well. This will be your first one as well, right?
Well, no, the first one was December.
Yeah, that's right. We do those in December.
Yeah.
So you have that debt. You're able to do that and able to project, whereas a lot of the other bodies sometimes it's backwards and they have to with the timing. But no, I forget that. Yes, you do yours, and so what money's dedicated there. Now, of course, that money is already. The property tax money is pretty much allocated, right?
Correct.
There's not much wiggle room.
No, there's none, really. It goes to the library, to our bond debt, and to pensions, public safety pensions.
Yeah.
And, of course, this year we made the decision to only put 55% of that pension obligation on the tax bill. So there's 45% that's going to hit the general fund. We have put aside money in previous years, so we've got a good chunk of that, but we've either got to end up this year with a fund balance to cover the difference, or we're going to have to pull that out first before we even start looking at other expenses.
Are you considering having some budget hearings that would be open to the public for each department so everybody there can be a real good discussion on these things?
Absolutely. We will start those in March. So right now our leaders are looking at their staffing plans. Who do they need? What are their salaries? What increase are we going to project? And we've got a placeholder in is all right now. But there's a few unknowns yet along the staffing line. So we're working on that. Then over the month of February, we will have every department look at the rest of the lines, the discretionary funding in their budget, and submit what they think they need. We'll add it all together. At the same time, the comptroller's office is projecting revenue based on what we know, the trends that we've seen, and the advice from IML or from the state as to where they think revenues are going to be. We take all that, we look at, okay, this is how much people have requested, this is how much revenue we think we're going to have in this fund. Do we have to make cuts, or are we okay? No matter what, we're probably going to make some cuts, or at least I'm going to make some cuts. Because I want to make sure that we're using every dollar as efficiently as possible. And while it's easy to criticize how we spend some of our money, I think part of our job has to be to educate the public on why these things are necessary, and how we see our return on investment. Especially when we have some incentive programs, whether it's for building housing or in TIF districts or enterprise zones or River's Edge. There's a lot of incentive programs out there, and we need to show how that's going to help us grow Quincy.
And also, when you're talking about some of the other revenue streams that you have, such as food and beverage tax and hotel motel tax, are you looking at sort of similar allocations in the past, or are you looking to tweaking any of those?
We'll probably tweak that some. We do have some contractual obligations, of course. Hotel motel tax. There's a certain amount that has to go to the Oakley Lindsay Center. A certain amount of that goes to See Quincy. Then we have to keep some for reserves for capital expenses. But our hotel motel tax is ahead of schedule. So we return a little bit to the general fund to cover our administrative expenses. That will probably continue to grow a little bit because as QU has added sports teams and as we've brought in more events, we're utilizing the hotels more and more often. So that's going to help us grow our hotel motel revenue. There may be some room there that we could dedicate some of it to a potential sports complex of some sort. We know in the food and beverage category, we haven't allocated 100% of that revenue.
Right.
So we've been putting money from that back and we'll continue to do that. In a perfect world, we will get a business plan for a sports complex that works and that we could pay cash for.
Sure.
Now, we're not going to get there in a year or two. But if we could have a significant amount of money set aside to get us started, that could make a difference for us.
Sure.
We also know if it's a sports complex, whether it's an indoor sports complex or an outdoor sports complex, we don't have enough hotel rooms to sustain the potential business that we could have by year 3 or 4. So we need more hotels.
Right.
So we've got to look at, okay, what's on the horizon? Building costs are really high right now. So an opportunity to bring in a new hotel is going to cost somebody a lot of money.
Sure.
We know the business can be there to support them, but it's that initial construction cost. We find the same thing with housing. Yeah. If it wasn't so expensive, we'd have plenty of housing. Even if it was not so expensive to renovate, we could keep up a number of our older buildings that need a little love and attention.
Well, again, I think that, for you it is an exciting time because you do get, you sort of, you do have a lot of things that are in place and it's not a blank slate or clean slate, but you still have a lot of, discretionary spending that you, discretions with what you can do with your spending.
Oh, yeah. And, I have a long list of needs of things we'd like to have, but it's a matter of looking at how much money we have available. Somebody said, every time you redo a street, why don't you just do the water and sewer underneath it right away? Well, that would be wonderful if we could do that, but that means instead of doing 2 or 3 miles of roads a year, we'd be doing 6 blocks a year. And with the number of city blocks we have, it would take us 150 years to get it caught up, and we can do it to a point that the roads are going to last 20 or 25 years.
And sometimes the roads just have to be fixed.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And, if we could predict what lines we're going to break underneath the ground, that would be great too. Sure. But it's held for 100 or 150 years. You think, well, gosh, if it's been that long, it's going to last another 150 years.
Yeah, it's not how it
always.
works.
Yeah, not always.
All those appliances that, our grandparents and parents bought that lasted forever, and now you buy one and it lasts, 5 years if you're lucky. So
exactly.
It's not quite the same.
For example, we had a water main that broke along 3rd and Hampshire. Well, we dug and dug to try to find where the leak was, and we couldn't find it anywhere. Then a week or so ago, 4th and Main had a collapse. That pipe that was causing all the leaking in 3rd and Hampshire was actually at 4th and Main. And when we were looking at the old blueprints, this was a pre-1870 pipe We believe it was the pipe that drew the water from the river up to Washington Park, where people would fill their fire barrels and their buckets to take to their home. And then the sewer part of it would take, this disposed water and carry it down Main Street back to the river. Yeah. And so that was all connected, but it wasn't on any diagrams, because it was pre-1870. Yeah. And now we know, In fact, Jeffrey Conte told me he's keeping a lot of those parts because he's finding things that we've never seen before. And to have a museum of water and sewer parts that maybe nobody is familiar with could be a pretty cool exhibit.
Well, it could be, but I think the thing is when you look there and you see that, yes, that infrastructure is more than 150 years old, it's like, okay, stuff's got to be fixed.
Right, exactly, exactly.
Well, Mayor Moore, thank you for your time as always.
Thank you for having me. Over the course of the next 3 or 4 months, we'll be trying to educate the public about the budget process. We'll have the town meetings, the open forums, public hearings, so that people can come and hear what we have to say. We'll include most departments. Some departments are so small, sure. There's not really much to talk about, but we'll have plenty to talk about in this budget. So thank you.
Thanks again. That's all the time we have for now. I'm Bob Gough, and once again want to thank Mercantile Bank for sponsoring Minutes with the Mayor.